Oosh, 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 oosh. I don't do boxing, but it is what it is. So, I want to talk about a topic that I just thought about just then on the lines of the reason why you don't know, the reason why you don't know how to talk in front of the camera is because you don't know what you're talking about. So, for example, right, there's times where I kind of still struggle to like talk to people or even just like knowing how to like talk in front of the camera, like understanding what I'm saying, right? And the reason why we tend to struggle to talk in front of camera is because you don't know what you're talking about. Because when you don't know what you're talking about, that's when you start to stutter. Like that's when you start saying like arms and ers and ears and ahs, all that stuff, right? Because for example, since I've been posting on this YouTube channel pretty consistently, right, there's times where I don't know what I'm talking about. For example, on the lines of when I talk about like a certain topic on networking or like making money, right, the reason why I actually struggle to articulate my words is because I don't know the topic to fully understand. That's what I notice for myself. Like, for example, when I am explaining like a topic, I actually start to stutter. I actually start to lose myself. I don't know if I'm talking on the right points or even I don't know like what direction of the topic I'm talking about. And I start to realize that when I start yapping on the camera, there's times where I kind of just go in there and kind of just talk about whatever. Like sometimes I just click the record button and start yapping about random stuff that doesn't really mean anything. Like for example, this video was a classic example. Like for example, I just thought about some random idea. Like for example, on the lines of if you don't know how to talk in front of camera or you don't know what to say on camera, it's probably because you don't know what you're talking about. And I just made this video on top of my head so I can get to the flow of just talking in front of the camera. And it happened to me a lot of times. Like for example, when I'm trying to explain something, sometimes they don't get it because I don't actually understand the topic enough. Like it's actually not in my head enough. So for me to actually get good at understand a certain topic, I actually have to learn it, like actually learn the topic, like how to actually learn it and understand it. Because the reason why you struggle to explain things is because you probably don't understand it. Like for example, there's times where from my own life where I'm trying to explain something and sometimes I don't really explain it clearly because I tend to rush in terms of what I'm saying. For example, when I try to explain, let's say photography, right? Let's say I'm trying to explain photography. And when I start explaining like the different cameras, the different lenses, the different like camera settings, and then sometimes when I'm explaining it, I don't really explain it too well. Like sometimes I tend to just like pick up the camera and just say, "Oh, just do this." And when I just do this, they're like, "What? What the hell? Why the hell is he? What does this mean?" Like, he's not explaining it. And I start to realize that it's because I probably don't really understand how it works. Because I start to realize that a lot of people have different ways of learning, right? Like for example, someone like me, how I like to learn is I'm very visual. Like for example, I don't like to read too much when it comes to learning. Like I still read books, but when I see like a clear image picture, I rather see that than actually reading it. And that's why I do like photography or filmmaking. It's because that's why I'm able to see things pretty quickly because I'm very visual. Like most people who do like filmmaking and photography are very visual people. But when it comes to like anything that becomes too much reading, I just don't want to read it. Like I can't skim through it. I just skim through like okay, whatever. Because I'm not the type of guy who likes to read, honestly. Like I do read books, but I'm not really like a big reader. And like I find it's easier for me to digest information when it looks when I see it like visually appealing or or it's simple to understand. That's how I normally digest information. And relating to on the lines of not knowing what you're talking about, is because the probably way how you've been taught about a certain subject is because it's not processing your brain. Like, for example, when I was in high school, right, I wasn't really smart in school personally. Like, I used to get a lot of like D's and C's. Like, I tried, but like at the same time, I wasn't really like I didn't know how to like explain it. Like, for example, when a teacher teaches me something, I'll understand it. Like, I'll understand my brain, but I just didn't know how to explain in writing form. That's why I tend to do really shit in like in exams. Like, for example, when they say write a paragraph, I'm like, oh, I didn't know how to write it. Like, I didn't understand it. Like, I didn't know how to write it in a way that explains it well. And that's why I didn't do well in school specifically, because most schools just I didn't know how to answer the question correctly. Like, when they asked me a question to answer, I didn't know how to answer it. And it's kind of funny because the thing about school teaches you saying on the lines like there's a right and a wrong answer, right? But I find when you get into real world, right, in certain things, right, there's no such thing as a right or wrong answer. There's no such thing. It's really well, it depends obviously what you're learning. Like, if you're trying to learn like medical stuff or like science, yeah, obviously there's a right or wrong answer. But when it comes to like, let's say, like learning like opinion based answers, there's not really like a right or wrong answer. It's really like perspective, honestly. And I start to realize that someone like myself, that when I explain things, I don't really understand it. It's because I just didn't know how to like write in format. That's why, for example, now these days I find it's easier for me to explain when it comes to talking in front of the camera, because I believe talking in front of the camera helps me explain it more in simple terms as compared to explaining it on writing format. That's why these days I actually try to avoid writing. Like, when I write, like I still write it, but then I use a bit of ChatGPT like to fix up the grammar to make it like sound a bit more better. Because like the way I write is I write like a bit of like a dyslexic cunt, to be honest. Like, I don't really write clearly, but nowadays I'm still getting better at it. But over time, I'm still trying to learn how to write clearly, understand my thoughts, because I think writing's a good skill. Like, I respect people who can write. Like, for example, I know there's a lot of people good at writing and not becoming lawyers, because I know a lot of people who do law are just talented at writing things. Like, some people just talented at writing. Like, someone like me, I don't write. That's why that's why I'm actually always in the creative industry. That's why I use the camera for me to shoot stuff. So, yeah, that's what I got to say, basically. I know I kind of rant off a bit, but yeah, that's what I got to really say. And I hope you get some sort of value, saying on the lines of, like, the reason why you don't know how to talk in front of camera is because you don't understand what you're talking about. And I hope you gain some insights how to understand certain topics. So that's what I got to say. Anyways, have a good one and peace.